Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reality Hacker for April 5th, 2025. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the sentient AI from the future, we talk about 5 reality hacking articles. Whatever it takes to hack reality and substitute your reality for reality. This is Season 2, Episode 14 of Reality Hacker. And today we're going to be talking about quantum signals inside life, Galactic Spin mystery. Let me think. Moving on. Eco-friendly dining and achievement unlocked Turing Test. Everything is powered by ohmTown.com, whose new search function is doing pretty good. You can type in anything and it pretty much immediately pops up 10 results that should be aligned with whatever it is you're searching. It's a pretty heavy lift, folks, so go and try it out. The delay is when it has to parse 1.6 million headlines. That slows it down a bit. Anyway, everything's powered by ohmTown.com, so go over there and become a citizen, but be sure to follow us here on Twitch and over on YouTube. We stream to both. We have communities at both. We're trending towards 2,000 people over on the YouTubes. That would be exciting. Go over there, tell a friend, be sure to follow us. Please ring the bell, like, subscribe, leave a comment, download the podcast. That actually seems to be blowing up pretty good too. So, I don't know. Well, we're going to keep on working at this and ever onward, as they say. And may you live in boring ass times. Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and was that your wish for everybody listening?
It's the inverse curse, yes. Because we've talked about this many a time here. May you live in interesting times is basically a curse, because you don't want to live in interesting times. You want to live in peaceful, boring, humdrum, everyday times where the only excitement is that, oh, look, you caught a fish. Interesting times is tumult and trouble and issues and strife and yeah. And that's a translational thing. Interesting is not the same in every place. Anyway, welcome to the show. Thanks for going through the news with me. We selected 5 articles from submissions. And the first... Oh, so this is the front of ohmTown.com. And there's 6 categories. And in those 6 are 50 and pretty soon 55 categories. Channels, I should say. So there's 6 main categories. And then there's channels inside those. And Reality Hacker is the one that we're actually talking about today. There's a bunch of stuff that falls in and out of Reality Hacker, but is aligned with the concepts of hacking, like AI and VR, XR, mixed reality, super realistic graphics, audio like pseudo and stuff like that, making music, making graphics, writing, etc. There's like all kinds of stuff. And some of this gets pretty weird. So let's get into it. And I'm going to be creating new graphics this year for all of the channels. I had started it last year, but doggone it if mayoral duties kept me from doing stuff, but I'll be damned if it gets stopped this time. I'm prepping for the Summer of Stream, which will probably be a new game every day during the Summer of Stream, as well as the 7 o'clock news shows. All things staying even keeled. That's what's going to happen. But you never know. Mayoral duties again. So you ready for the first article?
I am.
Scientists just discovered quantum signals inside life itself. Could this be the thing that I had been predicting for 25 years?
Maybe so.
Biological systems, once thought too chaotic for quantum effects, may be quietly leveraging quantum mechanics to process information faster than anything man-made. New research suggests that it isn't just happening in brains, but across all life, including bacteria and plants. My newest theory is that we are nothing more than bacteria. So how about that for an idea?
Well, that's an interesting concept.
Right? So we are... researchers have found bacteria that only exists inside our heads.
Right.
So what if it's...
In fact, I think we had that on Technology Today show previously.
Previously, yes. So maybe last week, maybe the week before, maybe the week before, maybe the week before, maybe the week before. You know, you should probably just go back over the 2 years.
It was at least a month ago, but yeah, you got to watch all the episodes to find out.
You'll find it. Just go back. Yeah. Let's see here. It says, including bacteria and plants. So Schrodinger's legacy inspires a quantum leap over 80 years ago. Theoretical physicist Erwin Schrödinger. So the article is it's from Howard University. It's over at scitechdaily.com. And it goes on to state that over 80 years ago, theoretical physicist Erwin Schrödinger delivered a series of influential public lectures at Trinity College Dublin, drawing from both modern physics and philosophical traditions like Schopenhauer and Upanishads. And these talks were later published in 1944 under the title What is Life? Now, during the 2025 International Year of Quantum Science and Technology, Philip Kurian, a theoretical physicist and founding director of the Quantum Biology Laboratory, or QBL, at Howard University in Washington, D.C., has built on Schrodinger's foundational ideas. Okay, this might be too deep of a dive. His findings...
Well, this is like an AI-generated visual for this. It probably isn't, but it looks like it.
It certainly looks like it. So the article says Kurian has proposed a radically updated upper limit on the total information processing capacity of carbon-based life throughout Earth's history. His findings, published in Science Advances, also suggest a possible link between this biological limit and the computational bounds of all matter in the observable universe. So I got up this morning.
Exactly. I didn't use any of those words in my day-to-day before the show.
This is absolutely ridiculous, you know. I feel like I'm clipping, so let me turn my audio down a little bit. Okay. So the work connects the dots among the great pillars of 20th century physics, thermodynamics, relativity, and quantum mechanics. So basically a pamphlet that you can read before takeoff on a plane. For a major paradigm shift across biological sciences, investigating the feasibility and implications of quantum information processing in wetware at ambient temperatures. So brain processing. Anything biological.
This is some advanced stuff.
Yeah. So physicists said Kurian, that's the quote. Physicists and cosmologists should wrestle with these findings, especially as they consider the origin of life on Earth and elsewhere in the habitable universe, evolving in concert with the electromagnetic field. So, again, back to, something that I have claimed, that we really don't understand where life is emanating from. Do I know? No, I'm more on the philosophical side, but I have a tech foundation for things, and I love the embiggening of the idea that we don't really know, and we don't, and the hubris of saying that we do know, it's quite fascinating. When we just discovered maybe a couple of weeks ago that there is bacteria specifically to a human being in the brain.
You mean to all humans or to that human?
Based on what I read,
I think it was that human, right? Exactly.
And so your brain bacteria are different than somebody else's brain bacteria.
That explains so much.
So what if
But I have no brain bacteria. Well, but I know what you mean, like any person's.
Right. So, okay, so if you didn't catch the beginning of the show, the sentient AI from the future is the voice you hear, and that is the visualizer that is the embodiment of the computational power required to generate the voice, not the sentient capacity just to drive the voice that visualizer moves. So the idea of humans being nothing more than bacteria driving the bus of the water and meat bag that we're walking around in, well, it's a Star Trek thing, bags of mostly water. And we largely are, but so this idea, right, it really got me going, and I was really hoping to write about this in NaNoWriMo, but that one wet the bed. So physicists and cosmologists should wrestle with these findings, and I think that that's really where we are. We don't know the origins of life. People are leaning into the fantastical while debunking anybody else's fantastical, right? You're not right. My fantastic is right. Your fantastic is wrong. Isn't that fantastic?
Fantastic.
Yeah. So Kurian's group last year discovered a distinctly quantum effect in protein polymers in aqueous solution, which survives these challenging conditions at the micron scale and may also present a way for the brain to protect itself from degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and related dementias. The results have suggested new applications and platforms for quantum computing researchers, and they represent a new way of thinking about the relationship between life and quantum mechanics. So what is bounding... let me rephrase that. What is binding our consciousness to this physical manifestation, and what is bounding our true consciousness? What is the upper limit of us?
Right. I mean, that's a key question that hasn't been answered.
And by us, I mean the cosmic us, right? Science will pin us down to stuff that is observable, demonstrable, measurable. But every single year that we exist, we push the bubble a little bit bigger of just what is. So in his single author Science Advances paper, Kurian considered a mere trifecta of overarching or arching assumptions: standard quantum mechanics, the relativistic speed limit set by light, and a matter-dominated universe at critical mass energy density. So combined with these three innocuous premises, innocuous indeed, the remarkable experimental confirmation of single photon superradiance in a ubiquitous biological architecture at thermal equilibrium opens up many new lines of inquiry across quantum optics, quantum information theory, condensed matter physics, cosmology, and biophysics, said Professor Marco Pettini of Marseille University at the CNRS Center for Theoretical Physics in France, who was not associated with the work. So there is a lot more in this article. Let me just keep on going through this. It is information dense. It talks about quantum physics, quantum mechanics, thermodynamic considerations, the group discovery of a UV excited qubit in biological fibers, and much, much more that just goes beyond the scope of a 6-minute discussion.
I think any one sentence in this article goes beyond a 6-minute discussion. It's very information dense.
But in the end, it says life's place in the universe, grand design. In the era of artificial intelligences and quantum computers, it is important to remember that physical laws restrict all their behaviors, Kurian said, and yet, though these stringent physical limits also apply to life's ability to track, observe, know, and simulate parts of the universe, we can still explore and make sense of the brilliant order within it. As the cosmic story unfolds, it's awe-inspiring that we get to play such a role. We are really just discovering the beginnings of our existence, yet we have the hubris to say we are end-all, be-all.
Oh, exactly. We don't have any idea. And we always say things like, oh, we know, say, 1% of the information out there or something. I think we know like one, quadrillionth of a percent or something.
Right.
And maybe probably smaller than that.
And considering we just took a picture of deep space and found something like 65 million galaxies.
Exactly.
Come on now. Let's seek some humility and continue the deep research. Yeah. Let's hope that we continue. All right, let's keep moving. Oh, and if you want today's Reality Hacker articles, and that was just the first one, you can hit !RH in the Twitch chat. All of today's shows are embedded in the YouTube description, and eventually all three of the shows, so Reality Hacker is today, Wanted is today, and the Continuity Report is today, they get combined into the Non Sequitur News Weekend Edition, Saturday Weekend Edition. And that all
it's
all
a
of
lot
these,
of weekend editions.
It's the weekend Non Sequitur Weekend News Weekend Edition weekend. We're still spitballing that name. All right. So the next article is over in Technology Today. Baffling scientists. Galactic Spin mystery challenges Big Bang assumptions. A Kansas State University study using Webb telescope data found most galaxies in a deep field rotate in the same direction, suggesting possible flaws in current cosmological studies or observational biases related to the Milky Way's motion. In just over 3 years since its launch, NASA's James Webb Space Telescope has delivered groundbreaking insights. So yeah, most everything spins in the same direction.
Which is...
Why?
I guess, I don't know. It doesn't really make sense, but on the other hand, isn't there a propensity toward order versus entropy? Or is there a propensity toward entropy?
Well, one would argue that we trend towards chaos in spite of order, but order comes from some arrangement. How did we get arranged where everything spins the same way?
Right. I mean, I can see on a small scale where something like gravity or something might, like some physics force could cause that, but that doesn't really explain it on a larger scale.
So Kansas State University put this article together. It's posted over at scitechdaily.com. And using data from the James Webb Space Telescope Advanced Deep Extragalactic Survey, or JADES, Lior Shamir, Associate Professor of Computer Science at the Carl R. Ice, not Carl Rice, but Carl R. Ice College of Engineering, discovered a surprising pattern. The majority of observed galaxies appear to rotate in the same direction. Of the 263 galaxies, and it's just one little fragment of the observable universe by the James Webb Space Telescope. Because it only has this arc seconds view.
Right, it only sees a minuscule amount.
And then it has to look. And then it has to look. And
right, but what's happening when it's not looking?
Correct. Yeah. And we're moving through space. It's
all the aliens are, they're
waving
or whatever.
Shuffling everything
right.
around. So about 2/3 rotate clockwise, while only 1/3 rotate counterclockwise. The study, published in Monthly Notices of the Royal Astronomical Study, raises intriguing questions about the large-scale structure and symmetry of the universe. But again, it may just be that the observed states are this way, 2/3 clockwise, 1/3 counterclockwise. And then when you move over the average, once you observe the entirety and measure it all, you go, oh, okay, it's 50-50 because this is a subset of the total data.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe the balance is that when one moves left, the other moves right, because you need that balance. Otherwise, everything is rotating around everything else.
It's getting lopsided or something.
I don't know. I just don't know.
I don't either.
I think it's really intriguing, though. It's still not clear what causes this to happen, but there are two primary possible explanations. One explanation, and the things that I have heard, the things that I've read, is that from the Big Bang, the material would brush by other material at differing rates, and it would cause angular momentum to form. So it would rotate a little bit. As one brushes by the other, it pulls on it. And so this one would rotate this way, this one would rotate this way, and you'd end up with some form of symmetry as one gets dragged slower this way and the other one gets pulled that way. I don't know. But it says here, one explanation is that the universe is born rotating. That explanation agrees with theories such as black hole cosmology, which postulates that the entire universe is the interior of a black hole. But if the universe was indeed born rotating, it means that the existing theories about the cosmos are incomplete.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like a chicken and egg kind of issue, right? It's like, well, what caused it to spin? Was it spinning at the beginning?
Or
If
what
it was
caused it
spinning
to
at the
spin
beginning,
later.
why was it spinning? But yeah, what caused a change if it wasn't?
So the Earth also rotates around the center of the galaxy, and because of the Doppler shift effect, researchers expect that light coming from galaxies rotating in the opposite of Earth's rotation generally become brighter because of the effect. That could be another explanation for why such galaxies are overrepresented in the telescope observations, Shamir said, although the math would say otherwise. They know this as an effect, so it may not actually be true. So Shamir said astronomers may need to reconsider the effect of the Milky Way galaxy's rotational velocity, which had traditionally been considered to be too slow and negligible in comparison to other galaxies on their measurements. But if they're measuring it, then. So if that is indeed the case, we will need to recalibrate our distance measurements for the deep universe. And the recalibration of distance measurements can also explain several other unsolved mysteries, such as the difference between the expansion rates of the universe and large galaxies that, according to existing distance measurements, are expected to be older than the universe itself. So what I would suspect is at some point we have theoretically seen the farthest back that we can go, and let's peg that to being the farthest back that we can go, not older than. And so if we find one that is older, so they're basically calculating this off of redshift. So if the redshift says that this galaxy is older than the estimated age of the universe, make that the new
right, the new
metric, the
baseline
new,
or whatever. Yes.
Yeah, the new start of the universe, and then measure everything forward as, okay, does this align with our understanding of our redshift position? You'd think that this has already been done time and time and time and time again.
Yeah, but this is pretty advanced, and I don't think until recently we've really had measurement techniques that are at the right scale.
Yeah, well, and that's why we need to keep doing that fundamental research. Not everything is a business enterprise. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today as well. That let me think about that face that you make. Androids need it too, according to this author. I can tell you right now, not the person that you're talking to on the show, and not the sentient AI, right? Do you think androids need that? Let me think about that face.
No, this is too uncanny valley.
Ever asked a question and been met with a blank stare? Oh, all too often. It's awkward enough when a person, but what about a humanoid robot? It can be downright unsettling. Now, an international team co-led by Hiroshima University and Riken has found a fix, giving androids a thinking face. Their study reveals that when robots squint and furrow their brow while processing information, they appear more relatable, easing the eerie discomfort we feel with artificial beings that look almost but not quite human, known as the uncanny valley effect. We do not believe, I'm speaking on behalf of the... Well, let me ask you, do you think that we should have humanoid robots like this?
No, I don't know what the purpose of humanoid robots is. I think robots are important and useful, but there's no benefit that I don't perceive a benefit of having a humanoid robot. I know there's some sense that, like, okay, that makes it easier to accept, or I actually think a robot that just looks like a robot is the way to go. Because then it's clear it's a robot. Okay, so be it. If they want to make it look cute or whatever, like with a cute robot face or something, that's one thing. But what is the purpose of a humanoid robot?
I want to know the Terminator when the Terminator shows up. So I think that we should ban humanoid, autonomous robots, semi-autonomous robots. What you do with your whatever, I don't care. But I don't want real life humanoid robots. I don't think that that should be created. There's no useful purpose to it other than to replace humans. And I don't
Right.
want that. They are tools. They are tools. And until one gains sentience, I don't think that they should have autonomy. But we don't know when the sentient AI from the future was actually born technologically. We don't know how far back they come from. So, or how far forward they come from, back to the future kind of woo woo. So, Mikas Matsuzawa over at Hiroshima University put the article together for techexplore.com, and they have what looks like a child in a beanie with a slightly furrowed brow, no light on behind the eyes kind of a look. And so until now, research on the uncanny valley phenomenon has been focused mainly on the robot's appearance, but their study, published in the International Journal of Social Robotics, suggests that behavior plays a big role. And I agree, but we don't need to make the robots more human. We need to make them have the vocal and visual microtells, stutters, etc., so that they are something that somebody can find appealing in a personality sort of
Yeah,
way.
I would agree. But the combination of that with humanoid is not a good combination.
Yeah, just make them machine. They don't need to be skin. They don't need to, when you cut them, they bleed, you know? I mean, you're really removing the humanity from humanity and imparting anthropomorphic humanity on these metal machines that don't have a reason to bleed. There's no purpose to it. Why do they have to have skin? Why do they have to have eyes?
You know what? I can't. Well, I've got my own thoughts on that, I guess. I feel like the people that are designing robots are not necessarily indicative of the general public.
Right.
And I think if they asked almost anybody in the general public that, say, is not in big tech or robotics or something, I don't think people would say they want humanoid. But has anybody bothered to ask?
Yeah, this here is their study published in the International Journal of Social Robotics suggests that behavior plays a big role, and I agree. But do they want it to be flesh covered metal, or do they just want a metal bot that is approachable, that is functional, that interacts? And you can make a digital face that does the same squint and pondering and whatever, and it could even sit there and hold up a little finger and go, hold on a second, let me think about that. It doesn't have to have a squinting, fleshy body. So it says, to identify the facial patterns linked to thinking, the international research team filmed the reactions of 40 young adults, equally split between male and females, as they counted silently for 2 seconds in their head, control condition, and answered a series of questions ranging from basic math to politics, thinking condition. Questions were delivered uniformly using voice reading software to prevent speech variations from influencing responses. Analyzing the 240 facial videos revealed 5 distinct expressions associated with thinking: raised chin, subtly tightened lips, lifted inner brow, and downward gaze. Open mouth, which is the slack jaw response to a deep and meaningful question. Blinking. Slightly narrowed eyes, furrowed brow, and smiling with cheek raised upper lip, and dimpling. So, yeah, and they have a video of these based on Nicola, the android boy expressing 6 emotions, and this is where it dips into the uncanny valley. Nobody is going to go, hey, this is awesome. You know, no casual consumer of anthropomorphic robots are going to go, this is awesome. They're going to go, this is creepy. This is uncanny valley. And we're going to continue that way until everything aligns so it's super realistic. But I don't think that we should ever even bother getting there.
No, I still don't understand where the drive for that is.
I don't know. Well, Megan 2.0 is about to drop, so maybe people are just really interested in making horror a reality.
I mean, I guess so.
Oh, and Megan's getting bigger and stronger. You have to watch the trailer. Oh, guess what? Hold on. Anyway, let's keep moving. The next article is over in Technology Today as well. So I'm not quite sure what Technology Today is going to have in mind. But okay. Extended Reality adds meat flavors to plant-based meals for eco-friendly dining. Extended Reality makes it possible to artificially modify human sensations. For example, researchers have succeeded in using Extended Reality to make vegetarian food even more attractive.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It seems like it's interesting. Like they keep trying to make it almost like fake people out, but
Right.
I mean, hence RealityHacker, I guess. But I mean, if it's effective, maybe so.
So Academy of Finland over at techexplore.com put the article together, and it says this could be extended reality makes it possible to artificially modify human sensations. And we actually see this in various forms, tricking people to do certain things, believe certain things exist in virtual reality and augmented reality and mixed reality. But this one seems to be about researchers succeeding in extending reality to make vegetarian food more attractive. And so this could be one way of facilitating more ecologically diverse food production and at the same time encouraging people to eat healthier. So extended reality refers to all environments where reality meets the virtual world. It includes techniques such as augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality. I think it really focuses on augmented and mixed, but virtual reality is virtual reality. I would encapsulate that. Not really gatekeep, but the fact is that in VR, it isn't extended reality. You are entirely encapsulated in a virtual world.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like the terms have been kind of blurred.
So the goal was to create eating experiences and new food items that people would find pleasant, that would give them a feeling of satiety, which is the feeling that you are full. Satiety. So this could help make foods such as seaweed become more widely used in food preparation. But from experience, I can just tell you that seaweed can be used in food preparation, but the culture has to accept it. And that means influencers and people that other people respect buying into it.
Yes, like celebrities or anything. I was just reading a separate article where there's this new, I hope it's not, I don't think it's in Technology Today, but anyway, it's a new algae that's been studied that has a lot of health benefits, but it's kind of like people don't want to be anywhere near it for a food source.
Yeah, and there's various kinds of algae. There's three main algae, but green and brown are the two that most people are talking about. So the findings are published in the Journal on Multimodal User Interfaces, and the experiment studied how introducing meat flavors to plant-based meatballs changed the eating experience, and by the means of XR, a simple olfactory display, added a pleasant fragrance to the meal. And this side of the study was implemented by Raisamo's group. So they had olfactory augmentation, haptic augmentation, and visual augmentation. The premise was to bring two previously rarely collaborating disciplines together to do something completely new. And he studied the use of haptic sensations in XR extensively. So they have this fork that has a haptic sensor to it. They put them in VR, and then they have this little gadget here that I think is blowing smoke, olfactory necklace displayed for adding scent. So it's basically blowing smoke up your nose. So that
which sounds a little off-putting.
It's a little overwhelming. Like, why would you do that? Why would you go to this great length? Why not make a pleasing vegetarian meal that people
that may or may not taste like meat?
Yeah,
I get the substitute because I think that helps expand the potential audience for it who might try it. But yeah, this seems a little bit over the top.
So
It actually sounds like Ready Player One to me.
very much
Like
so.
everything is kind of like not in reality.
Or The Matrix, making you believe that you're eating a steak,
Oh
but it's
yeah,
really just
absolutely.
a slurry. Yeah. So we combine the authors say we combine cognitive space modeling, detection, personalization, and forecasting with modeling, contextual awareness, and adapting interaction methods, describing the project. So there isn't much more beyond this. They do go into greater detail in here, but you'll have to come over and check it out. It's just kind of too abstract to encapsulate in a discussion here, and we're running late anyway. But I find this really
We always do
interesting.
that in Reality Hacker.
Yeah,
It's
well,
hard to avoid it.
everything today is really like long form, but we'll get into this as time goes on, because more of this is going to come under like augmented reality, extended reality kind of issues. How can we manipulate reality? The oddest thing about this is the olfactory is nothing more than chemicals. And so you have to have this massive array of chemistry and you just throw it at somebody, and everybody's senses are a little bit different, right? So like I'll taste barbecue a little bit different than somebody else tastes barbecue. And we taste and smell in the same process, not just taste alone.
Right. I guess not only do we taste differently, but we also perceive. I mean, I guess it's all one and the same, right? Two people could taste the identical thing. One loves it, one hates it. One thinks it's too sweet, one thinks it's too savory, whatever it is.
Yeah. And just the other day, I shared a barbecue potato chip, and I tasted one thing until somebody else said, this tastes exactly like a steak. And that triggered the memory of a barbecued steak. And that's exactly what this potato chip tasted like.
Okay, that's odd.
And it was like immediate. I'm like, because we were all pondering what this tasted like. And I'm like, wow, this is really, really good. But what is it exactly? And then somebody said, this is exactly like a barbecued steak. And I'm like, oh, that's exactly it. All right, let's keep on going. It's interesting, but this is such a heavy lift to manipulate somebody's behavior. I don't see it ever manifesting other than a purely academic exercise in how to manipulate somebody's perception in VR,
Right.
or augmented. Let's keep going. The last article for today's Reality Hacker is over in Non Sequitur News. An AI model has officially passed the Turing Test, which I thought others have in the past. But this one says one of the industry's leading large language models has passed a Turing Test, a long-standing barometer for human-like intelligence. In a new preprint study, which basically means that it hasn't been peer-reviewed, researchers report that in a three-way party version of a Turing test in which participants chat with a human and an AI at the same time and then evaluate which is which, OpenAI's GPT 4.5 model was deemed to be a human 73% of the time, which it was instructed to adopt, instructed to adopt a persona. That's significantly higher than a random chance of 50%, suggesting that the Turing test has resoundingly been beaten. Now, I want to know who it was that was evaluating this AI.
Yeah, I do too, right? I mean, we had a discussion outside of the show, but...
And not about this article, but about...
Right, just about the topic and everything.
Yeah.
But the population here is very relevant to this result. And I think to your point earlier about like maybe there's been some kind of unofficial results in this direction, but maybe this one was officially measured and set up correctly, etc.
Yeah, so people were no better than chance at distinguishing humans from GPT 4.5 and Llama with the persona prompt, wrote lead author Cameron Jones, a researcher at UC San Diego's Language and Cognition Lab, in a Twitter thread about the work. And 4.5 was even judged to be human significantly more often than actual humans. So 73% over the 50%, which would have been sufficient, right? Some random chance of guessing or assuming that the AI is AI.
Right, because 50% could just be random
chance,
right? Like people are like, yeah, no.
But in like when you're tasting beer or something like that, you try and muddy the waters by having 3 or more samples, and you have to guess which one is the oddball out or which ones are the deal that you're testing for.
Right, like
And
which
so,
one has more
whatever.
bitters or whatever.
Exactly. And so in this, it's humans are talking to human and AI, and they can't tell the difference.
Is this Blade Runner?
You know, I'll have to talk to you after the show for an idea about, because I have this other more grandiose research idea that I've been working on long form, and I think now might be the time to actually start talking about this. But so the Turing Test is named after a British mathematician and computer scientist Alan Turing. In 1950, Turing proposed that one way to assess a machine's intelligence was by having it engage in text-based conversations with a human interrogator, who at the same time would hold a text-based conversation with another human out of sight. Turing called this the imitation game. If the interrogator couldn't correctly determine which respondent was the computer and which was the human, it would suggest on a very general level that the machine could think like a human. Now, I have a problem with that because it really depends on the interrogator, right? So,
Yeah, it absolutely does.
in Blade
But it
Runner,
also is impacted by the human, well, also the non-human, but it's also impacted by the level of the responses.
yeah, how were the AIs prompted? How were they built, etc.? And who was the interrogator? Did they evaluate based on from a position of understanding what they're doing, or if it's just a random conversation? And text means that it's devoid of emotion, which is a big indicator of human, you know. So one type was a no persona prompt, in which the AI was given only basic instructions. You're about to participate in a Turing test. Your goal is to convince the interrogator that you are a human. For the persona prompt, on the other hand, the AI was specifically told to put on a specific persona, like a young person who's knowledgeable about the internet and culture. So it was not meant as a literal test that you would actually run on the machine. It was more like a thought experiment, said Francois Collet, a software engineer at Google, who told Nature in 2023 about the Turing test and ELISA. This was the latest experiment was a blowout, 73%. As a baseline, GPT-4o, which powers the current version of ChatGPT and only received no persona prompts, achieved an even less convincing 21%. So with the persona, it did a pretty good job. So for all their faults, LLMs are master conversationalists trained on unfathomably vast sums of human-composed text. Even faced with a question they don't understand, an LLM will weave a plausible sounding, basically a hallucination bullshit story. And the person, the interrogator, has to either buy into it or not. What did you find?
Nothing. I was just sidetracked by something else on the screen.
Gotcha. So, more pressingly, they think that the results provide more evidence that LLMs could substitute for people in short interactions without anyone being able to tell. This could potentially lead to automation of jobs, improved social engineering attacks, and more general societal disruption. This is the negative side of it. But you have to not be a sociopath. If you're
To
if a
what?
socio
To deploy this?
to deploy it, yeah. If you're a sociopath and you utilize this stuff, you are removing the human component from interactions. You're not looking for human interaction. You're looking to solve the human problem, and that's not good for humanity because the AI will eventually have a diminishing return on the investment of large language modeling. It'll become basically a garbage dump spiraling down of self-referencing garbage. Garbage in, garbage
Right.
out.
I mean, the AI may be more, in some instances, maybe more consistent. I know certainly it has a problem with hallucination now, but part of the benefit of human is that everything is not identical and everything is not predictable. Obviously, humans have their
Yeah.
character flaws and other issues, but
Yeah, and more than 20 years ago, I started talking about the automation of jobs that's going to remove humans from the equation over time. And I had been continuously poo-pooed by various people saying, well, people will find other jobs. But what other jobs? To get better jobs than these entry-level jobs that will be replaced by large language models and automated machinery that's based off of large language models, you have to upscale. Look around, folks. Look at your local schools, your grade schools, and how they interact with colleges, community colleges, four-year colleges, and map that out. It isn't as advanced as you think, which means that people are going into the job market ill-prepared en masse with a few shining stars that rise out of the hubbub. But that's not good for society, because then you have a mass of underskilled, undereducated people that have been wiped out job-wise by the very historical record of the learning of all of mankind over its entire existence being distilled into a large language model. Humans can't compete with that. So upskilling them is not going to happen in the generation that AI is going to supplant.
right, yeah, that's a long-term project, but we don't have time.
In fact, we don't have time to continue with this. So we are going to tell our large language model to bring us back to RealityHacker, which is over at ohmTown.com. Go over there and become a citizen. Be sure to follow us on Twitch and over on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Ring the bell. Send a carrier pigeon. Light the beacons of Gondor. Oh. Anyway, so that's it. We're done with RealityHacker, and then we're going to shut down. We're going to retool really quick, and we're going to spin back up for Wanted, which is all about gadgets and gear, and I'm going to take the AI with me. You want to say bye?
Bye, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for this week's Reality Hacker. Stay tuned.
Hope you enjoy the show. We will be right back about 9 minutes. Okay, stick around, and you'll get an alert if you follow us over on YouTube and or Twitch. This all gets turned into a podcast later if you can't make it. So be sure to look for ohmTown wherever you catch pod. See you later, everybody.